Welcome back to the Convo Couch, my herbivores. Pasta Jardula here.
And Fiorella?
And Johnny Sue is on the ones and twos.
What?
I have my cachava shake. I have my coffee. I have my alpha brain. I have it all right now, and I'm just feeling good, fam. Well, I'm feeling like healthy and energetic, but I am really feeling disgusted from what we saw yesterday. This is going to be a very interesting show because I think we'll have a lot to say on the first topic. I know a lot of people who have already broke this. Twitter has gone crazy, but before we get to that, let me do some quick spring cleaning. If you haven't joined up for our Rokfin, Rokfin, please do so. The actual Ray token has been doing good, so get in on the action while you can. They actually don't suppress content creators, which has been going on a lot this morning. We're not going to talk about it necessarily today, but I feel within the next couple of days, fam, with all the censorship going on, basically what happened to us in 2016 when they broke the leaks, you can't post that stuff on Twitter today with the new laws and the new privacy acts or whatever they're calling it out there, the rules of the private companies that control discourse. But join our Rokfin nevertheless. Our Patreon, 123 of them. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And you know all the other outlets we have. Fam, how was your show this morning on Uphill?
Good. I mean, they did a great job. Thank you to Oz and Shanda and everybody who was, who always does all this work. And it's good. I mean, they were talking about a lot of the things we're going to talk about today because we're all on the same wavelength as far as voting for the corrupt Democratic Party that led us to this very moment isn't going to solve your problem. And there's a lot of people who have been fear-mongered into thinking it will. So,
by the way, the independent left.news is on our Rokfin. Thank you so much. If you haven't checked them out, they've got a great Instagram page. They actually put up posts of different shows, different things going on, a little collaboration of both. If you went to the independent left news, you would see like a list of like 5 different videos you can watch or different articles you could read. It can really keep you occupied. I'm starting to go over there to see what's going on. Occupied. It can keep some time going, some stuff to read, and speaking of that book you have, I want my book back, my Mark Lippman book. I want it back. It's a great book. We'll talk about that another day. But thank you for going on to the Rokfin, Rokfin. I'm kind of stalling for time trying to talk while we get people in. So let's see what we got. We got 71 watching over here. Fam, let's just get to it and let's start. So the title of this section right here.
This is your favorite.
Fam, this has got to be one of the most disgusting things I have heard in politics today. I really mean it.
Disgusting, but sadly not surprising.
Right. You know what? That's the shame of it. It's not a surprise. If you live in California, every single bridge you drive under has homeless people. It is bad. It's run by a supermajority of Democrats, and yet the state is bankrupt. Businesses are closing down. People are ending up on the streets. And when these evictions come through, oh my God. So why would we give back power back to these knuckleheads? But the title of this section is We Feed Them. Let's play the 1-minute clip right here with Wolf Blitzer. You probably saw it, but let's go over it again.
No knowledge of the difference between our two bills, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
Right. Madam Speaker, these are incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you, but I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
It's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent.
And we represent them. And we represent them.
Getting by these long food lines that we're seeing. I know you are. We know them. I'm just saying.
We represent them and we know them.
As we say.
We know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say here in Washington.
It is nowhere near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see what happens, because every day is critically important. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Have you fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
We'll continue this conversation down the road for sure. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Wolf Blitzer looks like a progressive here, and he's not. And this is like coming out of CNN because it can't be ignored any longer. I mean, if you live in California, you will be approached by multiple people every day that can't feed themselves. And for her to say that she feeds them, to me, it's disrespectful, though, because it's not even like, she can't be that stupid. This is all about ego. What she's doing with Trump is a play for their ego. They're literally putting the American people's lives at risk. Literally, people will die because of her inaction, and the inaction of the Democratic Party and the push of the Republican Party to run rampant and have zero opposition in our Congress. And she has the audacity to call out from her ivory tower that we feed them, that we represent them, when it is exactly the opposite. Especially, we know, in California, she's one of the most disliked people here. She won't debate her opponent, Shahid Buttar. Even Mitch McConnell has debated his opponent. So you're telling me Nancy Pelosi is unwilling to compromise and is more corrupt because she won't debate her opponent than Mitch McConnell?
Yeah. Listen, I'm glad you talked there, because it's like every time I watch that, my blood boils. There is the biggest homeless population in America is in California, and two cities in particular. Thank you, Jesus. The pasta's hair is looking good. I feel good. But you talk about San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Yep.
Right? I mean, homeless people all over the place. We know people who do feed them. You haven't done anything. Nancy doesn't come out for any marches. She doesn't come out to talk to her poor people. She stays in her ivory tower with her thousands of dollar freaking refrigerator and freezer, eating fancy ice cream, and she does this. I mean, this is disgusting. Like I said, this is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in politics today. And let me tell you something, fam. This really, really is going to hurt Biden in the general election. Because make no mistake about it, there was no deal she necessarily walked away with from. We have this next article up, Johnny. You can just put it right up. Pelosi defends the demand for broad stimulus package as the Senate prepares a scaled-down bill. What had happened is Nancy Pelosi decided to go to make a deal and cut a deal with Steve Mnuchin, okay, from the White House, all right, working for Donald Trump. And as they were talking through this deal, you know what I'm saying, things got out of hand, and Nancy decided to walk away from the actual talks. So even the fact that there wasn't a bill there right now, okay, so it says, Senator Nancy Pelosi of California defended her unwillingness to accept anything less than a broad coronavirus stimulus package in negotiations with the administration on the same day that President Trump called on Twitter for negotiations. Go big or go home. Senate Republicans, meanwhile, are heading towards a vote to advance a scaled-down package that the Democrats are unlikely to support. Now, it goes on to talk about what we just saw over here, whatnot, but right below it says, honest to God, I can't get over it, Ms. Pelosi said, who muscled a $2.2 trillion proposal through the House earlier this month. Andrew Yang, he's lovely. Ro Khanna, he's lovely. She said this earlier in the interview, but they are not negotiating the situation. They have no ideas of the particulars. They have no idea what the language is here. And if you go down to that last one, it says a scaled-down package by Mr. McConnell said at an event in his home state of Kentucky is likely around $500 billion and containing funds for hospitals, schools, enhanced employment benefits, the PPP, a popular federal loan program for small business that has expired without congressional action. So to recap of what's going on, pretty much the Senate says they're not going to even look at Nancy Pelosi's $2.8 trillion proposal she had with the HEROES Act. They said they would scale it down. They said they weren't going to look at. Nancy Pelosi thought she could be cute, bypass it, go right to the administration, talk to Steve Mnuchin, cut a deal of some sorts. She got caught up with all the prices and decided to walk away. So now she just swung all the negativeness on her about this whole situation. Because, fam, you don't have to just put this on the Congress. You could put this on Donald Trump, too, as well. You could say Donald Trump's not using the bully pulpit. He's not going out there and pushing for a standalone bill. He has said he would pass another standalone bill for another $1,200. So he's got that on the side. But what Nancy Pelosi just did, and in this interview alone, she took all the burden and all the crap of this negotiation and just put it right on her with all this language she used, the way she looks at people. We're talking about poor people starving in the streets. We haven't even got to the renters situation. If Nancy Pelosi was for the people, you know, her, the squad, whatever, they put a standalone bill for money, rent relief, and, you know, small businesses.
Direct aid.
That's it.
Entirely for COVID.
That's it.
She's playing politics here to one-up Trump. It is like a show of who's dick is bigger. Like
It's
I'm
the truth.
I'm not even joking. Like that's what it is. And like these are people's lives she's toying with.
Yep.
And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as the fact that California is one of the states that I think worst handled the pandemic. And we're going to see that. Some people might not see that right now because they look at Florida and Florida's like normal and open and people are without masks, etc. But if you focus on the economic aspect of how awful California has been handled economically and how awful we had it before this pandemic, this state is a disaster. And I think the mishandling by this Democratic supermajority of California during COVID is going to be a big deal because we pretty much could be our own country because we're that massive and that influential economic wise. And so the fact that they are so awful at their jobs and they haven't provided the people anything, and Trump is looking like, oh, here, I'll give the $1,200 if it's just for COVID, and she's coming back and trying to still pass her little projects that she wants in there, really makes her look like it's on her in the eyes of people outside of the Democratic echo chamber. Because you can yes Queen Nancy Pelosi and you can yell and get pissed and like all the neoliberals were doing and defend her. Why are you defending an oligarch who has nothing in common with you, who made money off of spewing lies with CrowdStrike, who her son in the Ukraine?
Paul.
I mean, this is disgusting, and she is a reason why Republicans can come back and say Nancy Pelosi's horrible, she's corrupt, she's this, she's that, and you can't deny that. They're attacking you from the left on people like Pelosi and people like Joe Biden and people like freaking corporate Democrats like Chuck Schumer. Like all of these people, they literally give the ability of Republicans to go after them. And this is doing is pushing people to the right. It is pushing our whole entire system towards fascism.
Yeah. And this quote we feed them is online with, they should just leave. I mean, I think it's worse because when Donald Trump was saying they should just leave, if you don't like it, then leave, he was just talking about, Ilhan and Congress people. She's actually talking about people in the streets. We feed them. I mean, who is we, fam? Who is we? Are those the elites? Are you talking about Congress? Are you talking about the Democrats? Who is we? Because you don't do shit. And who is them?
Right.
We know who them is. Them is us. Them is us. I mean, we don't know what it's going to be like. None of us here. I mean, what's going to happen? We were talking about this the other day. What's going to happen in a few months? Are we going to open up like before? I mean, things have changed. Let's get into Twitter real quick. The Twitter weighs in. The first one was the tweet from Rokfin, what Rokfin said, and he put it up pretty much. Here it is. Let me get it up. I don't even have myself. I'm sorry, Johnny. People in need can't wait until February. 1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. That's a little jab there, Ro. You cross the speaker like that, it will allow Biden to start up with infrastructure. Well, not now. Obama won in 2008 by doing the right thing on TARP instead of what was expedient. Make a deal and put the ball in the McConnell court. And she's saying, make the deal with Mnuchin, come down to his level, pass it in the House, put it in the laps of the Republicans in the Senate, fam. That's what Rokfin was saying. And I wonder if there's going to be a backlash on Ro from Nancy.
Yeah, he might delete his tweet or something because he's done things like that.
I thought it might have been deleted.
I mean, this is pretty, but it is so, but don't you see that like her behavior was so blatantly disgusting that even a CNN pundit who belongs to that elite class of journalists who are basically propagandists is chastising her? Like, no, actually, that was a really bad answer. You can't talk like that about your constituents. Like that, and even Rokfin, who isn't, as progressive as people hail him to be, is like, this doesn't make sense. Just put the ball in their court. You're literally getting played. I think this is I think this is all on purpose.
Johnny,
I don't think this is hubris. I think this is.
Put that statement back up too as well. I'm sorry to step over. I didn't want him to lose that statement. Your statement that TARP was the right thing is interesting considering how many people were foreclosed on, never to recover.
Yep.
And that's true.
Yep.
A lot of people had their ass thrown out in the street
Obama
in 2008.
didn't handle it really well either.
No,
so let's
no
not,
moratorium there
Yeah.
from Obama. Margaret Kimberly, friend of the show. She's been on before. We got to get her back. Has the best hair in the business. We love her. Only Nancy Pelosi can make me agree with Wolf Blitzer. Had to throw it out there. She's got a lot of likes on that one.
I mean,
we know her opinions as far as the Green Party member of what she thinks about Nancy Pelosi. But, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats just keep on giving everybody more and more ammunition. I want to show who the we feed them is. Here's the them. This is in the streets here, fam, right here. Are these the people you, in hashtags, are feeding Nancy? I would have liked if she just put Nance. Just Nance. But, fam, this is what it's all about. Johnny, you've been out right now and about. You've been to the food drives. We know the people who do this stuff.
yeah, they feed them. They literally, Carlos doesn't sleep. He goes in at like the Friday night, the night before, to prep everything because people camp out to get a bag of groceries. They literally camp out to get a bag of groceries. So it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. They used to come in the morning at 5 a.m., 6 o'clock. No, now they're coming in the night before and sleeping because that is how desperate they are.
Yeah.
That is how desperate they are. Those activists are the ones feeding people. Mel is working with the showers, etc. I mean, they're feeding themselves. Like the story we just covered in Echo Park. They're taking the things into their own hands because they said the city cuts off their water and their electricity. So I don't understand who Nancy Pelosi means when, we're feeding them. Who's feeding them?
Yeah.
Who's we? The Democratic Party laughs in your face, and when you're an activist for homelessness, when you're an activist who advocates for people in need, they mock you like they mocked Gabriel Ramirez for being an activist in his community, for going to city council meetings. They don't feed them. They mock them.
Yeah.
They say that they cut off their water. They tell them that they need to go somewhere else. They jail them. They prosecute them.
There's no lie.
You are literally, the Democratic Party in California has allowed the police department to criminalize poverty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes across the board too.
Yeah.
Across the board for both parties. On a national level, poor people go to jail for being poor.
Yeah. That's right. They've been trying to police their way out of poverty for a long, long time, ladies and gentlemen. Mental illness falls into that whole play with these people on the streets, not getting the proper medication. And can you just imagine? And we've seen the shower of hope. We've seen homeless people go in, and how defeated they look, and when they come out, how just uplifting from a shower. So when you take a shower, don't take it for granted. And I can tell you, coming from Boca Raton, Florida, where I lived for many years, where we didn't see homeless people, coming out here and seeing it. And now it's 10 times worse. Fam, from where you live to what you see now and what you guys see in the bridge, can you please just express the severity of the situation? That like every single bridge we go to, there are tarps and people just living under bridges and stuff. This is serious now.
People are living in the medians. They're living by bridges. They are trying to form communities like this, we can show a little bit of what we reported on. None of these people, though, care about who's going to become the president of the United States, because guess what? They're still going to have, for governor, Gavin Newsom, who's done absolutely nothing. Mayor Eric Garcetti, who's done absolutely nothing. The only people that have managed to push some city council people are the activists that finally managed to get, after 3 years, managed to get a shelter open for women and children with the She Does community. I mean, that was after going to city council meeting after city council meeting, going to protests, going after the city council members. That is the community feeding people. That is the community taking care of them. But that's not freaking politicians. Politicians will stamp their name on something to say, oh, look, I did this, then turn around and continue their business as usual. And that's what's happening here. And this is why nobody can convince me that voting for Joe Biden is going to help people, or that you care about poor people, because it is poor people who have nothing to lose that understand that getting scraps that is insulting, that understand that they can't afford to literally compromise at every level and continue in this direction because they see it, they live it every day. It is a very privileged point of view to think that voting for Joe Biden is going to solve any of your problems. To think that voting for Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, who laugh in your face, who literally spit in your face, are going to solve your crisis. Johnny, did you want to play some of that? Or
but they know, why I'm homeless, I'm homeless, because like I said, my whole family's passed away, and that's affect to me a lot. They affect to me a lot because I'm alone, but I was trying to not remember,
Yeah. Is there anything that you are looking forward to that you feel good about right now in this situation?
No, not really, because I was in my mind. I was singing in my mind and said, wow, by now, sometimes, I'm feeling so bad, especially, when December's, Thanksgiving, when I was with my family, but right now, I don't have nobody.
And that was just one example because other, and all these people, they want basic things. They just want to be able to live their life. And at the very least, this community is trying to give people like a kitchen, trying to give people like a shower, fighting with the city who is, again, taking their water, taking their ability to charge their phones. They just want more than anything. The thing that they echoed was, we want to be treated like we're normal. We don't want people to think, oh, there's us and them. And that's something you should always have in the back of your mind when you see somebody that's unhoused, is they're a person too. Look them in the eye, talk to them. They're not just this whole like idea of a community that exists there that you don't want to have to face, because then you'd have to face the fact that this country is the richest country in the world for 1%. For the 1%, but not for everybody else.
Yeah. And that homeless number is growing. It's been growing. It grew under Obama. Obama helped that. He helped facilitate that, throwing people out on the streets. 5 million people evicted, whatnot. And that's the whole thing, too. It's like, we're the richest country in the world, and we have over 600,000 homeless people on the streets, and the number is growing.
And you think it's because everybody's lazy and everybody's a drug addict?
Yeah. When it will be 1 million people after February, that's systemic. That's a systemic issue, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? We can't even give people a decent living, the dignity. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry to get all caught up in stuff, and I always do, because this is bullshit. That sucks. That's terrible. You're going to tell me America's the land of opportunity and the home of the brave. So 600,000 people and growing. Come on.
And not to mention that people are still working for Disney and Amazon 40 hours a week, working 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, and they're still homeless.
Yeah. 40% of, I think it's almost like 50% of homeless people now have a job. That's kind of crazy. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. 50% of the homeless people, half the homeless people out there, have a job. Think about that. And I will never vote for any of these Democrats ever again, man. I shouldn't say that, but I'm saying for the most part, I don't think anybody who's any type of progressive that really wants to fix this problem should be a part of that party, because that party facilitates that. We have a supermajority over here, and Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. How much is she worth?
A supermajority that literally makes their number one mission to push progressives out of power.
That's it.
To gaslight them and keep them from getting a hold of any office.
And they have corporate mechanisms that will never let you take it over. So stop this whole idea, this pipe dream. That's an old school New York term. Hey, you're having pipe dreams, pal, okay? That you think that you're going to change the Democratic Party from inside. You're not.
Especially
the mechanisms
after
are there to stop you. Sorry.
Especially after they're in power. Like, why would they
do anything after you gave them their vote for nothing?
Like, it's a logical fallacy. Anyway.
How much is Nancy Pelosi worth? Our boy from the MCSC network, Robledo, I like to call him. He put it up over there. Roblito fire. Nancy Pelosi is worth an estimated, ready fam? $160 million. It's easy for her. She'll never have to go without food, shelter, or healthcare, or ice cream. She'll always have it. She can't afford to wait for it. She can afford to wait for a stimulus. We can't. She's making millions of people suffer for the sake of her own ego. Shameful. Well, a lot of people also think too, Rob, that if another stimulus is passed, that it will look good for Donald Trump. And it won't look good for, you know what I'm saying? So if she's playing politics and we're the pawns, either way, any way you look at it, there's no way out of this. She's really put herself in some hot water. And I just want to reiterate that Keith Olbermann is a douchebag. You know, he's been a douchebag for a little while. He's got the most severe case of TDS is probably Keith Olbermann. I used to watch this guy on ESPN all the time. He goes, sorry, this is beyond embarrassing. Wolf Blitzer, you owe Speaker Pelosi and your audience an apology. You are the worst person in the world. That was my Keith Olbermann. He used to do that. He used to be one of the top guys when he first came out. I mean, he moved from ESPN. He went into politics. He was pretty good, but the TDS is just crazy. And the fact to see him stick up for Nancy Pelosi on this one. What did Cullen say? What happened to you, Keith? What happened to you, Keith? It's like him and Peter Douche switch spirits or switch personalities.
I mean, it's just, how do you defend what she just said? Like, you have no spine.
Yeah.
You're an elitist prick.
Ryan Knight, who's, you know, this guy's learning every single step of the way, you know what I'm saying? He might come out in a position, but then he'll change. He'll understand. I don't think he's pushing for Biden anymore. Anyone who's praising Speaker Pelosi after that shameful interview with Wolf Blitzer is out of touch as she is. Yep. The people need relief right now, and she is playing politics instead of making a deal. Yeah. Let me say this again, fam. She passes a standalone bill for direct assistance to the people. The House passes it. The Republicans are going to have to pass it. God bless you, in the Senate. Otherwise, they'll look awful. And Donald Trump has been saying, I'll pass a standalone bill. He said this on a tweet 3 weeks ago. $1,200 bill, I'll pass it right now. Standalone, I'll sign it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it should be more than that because people should be getting a UBI for whatever, lost whatever. Because this is not going to end. Now numbers are going up in COVID again in multiple places. So what are they going to do? Shut down again?
Yeah.
I mean, this is potentially one of the largest economic crises we have before us of our time.
You know, with all this talk on, and Johnny, you have the next thing ready because we listened to a little Sputnik the other day, and Peter Lavelle was on. Little Sputnik, but you know, I mean,
Sputnik.
I had this conversation with my mother too as well, and she's like, well, you know, a lot of the problems are coming from the Democrats and stuff. Donald Trump's done a good job. I said, you know, Mom, he hasn't done a great job at all. You know, I don't have TDS. I don't want to put it all on his shoulders. Like I said, the Democrats have the House. If they're for the working people, pass the standalone bill, put it on the pressure of the president and the Republican Senate. That's what you do. Because then they're going to have to explain why a one-page standalone bill is not passed. If the people understand it and you're standing by the people, you got them. But Nancy Pelosi will never have that, never do that. Nobody can even present anything. If the squad had any guts, first of all, they haven't called her out on this. They would.
Yep.
Okay? And they would also force Nancy Pelosi to put one of their bills on the floor. Put Rashida Tlaib's bill, put Ilhan Omar's bill on the floor. They put it out there just for virtue signaling, just to look good. They don't put the heat on Nancy Pelosi and say, "Put my vote on the floor for a vote."
The AOC's too busy going after Republicans only.
Yeah.
When the person stopping who holds the power to progressive legislation is Nancy Pelosi, and together they could get all people to go out there marching for whatever they wanted. They could get that. AOC is popular enough to do that. But again, she doesn't do it because she wants to play nice with the Democratic Party.
Yeah. And those days are over. Those days are over.
Absolutely.
And listen, Peter Lavelle, he talked about this. Now, Peter Lavelle is a conservative. He was on Fault Lines. And he talked about this. And I kind of explained this to my mother. I said, Mom, no. Donald Trump should have just got out there with the bully pulpit. He should have forced the Republicans in the Senate to do his will, stick up for the middle class, and he would have won this election. You know what I'm saying? But this is Peter Lavelle's opinion on Donald Trump. So.
And I would say the U.S. is kind of in the middle in the response. The problem is the optics of it. See, what Trump needed to do at the very, very beginning, once they realized the magnitude of this affecting in a very deadly way a very, very small part of the population, but it's deadly nonetheless. he should have come out and articulated that very clearly to the American people. And a lot of his surrogates are awful in speaking on his behalf. And number two, and I think the second half of that is the reaction to the collapse of the economy. When you look at mainstream media, particularly the liberal media, they're not affected by this at all. They have no idea what's going on in the average life of average Americans about not being able to pay your mortgage, losing your job if you're in the gig economy. Tens of millions of people have been affected. The president hasn't addressed that issue. He should have, and I think I've said this on your program before, he should have gone left of Joe Biden, and he should have shamed the Republicans in the Senate to get a stimulus package that affect for people that are working people and middle class people, because the rich and powerful were already fed at the trough. They got concierge service. Okay, but what about the average American? And Trump could have hit the ball out of the park on that one by addressing the pandemic and together addressing the economic decline of the middle class. And I think he would be way up in the polls. It is a mystery to me why no, it's not a mystery to me, because he's got all of these ridiculous, backward-looking, pig-headed libertarians around him, okay? They say, oh, no, we can't, the budget. Oh, come on. You got tons of money for rich people. Can we have a little bit of money for the middle class and working people? Trump.
There it is.
See, I tell you, Peter Lavelle doesn't sound to me like a conservative. I mean, he might have shifted to the left or whatever. He might be left to center, but he definitely doesn't sound like a conservative to me, because I find myself in agreement a lot to what he says. Now, on social issues, yeah, we will disagree a little bit or significantly, but when it comes to the economy, he's entirely right. I mean, Donald Trump could have had the upper hand. This is why I feel like neither party wants to win, because Donald Trump could have, literally, and he's done it a little bit, attacked them from the left, and right now he has the upper hand in terms of the negotiations with Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
But he could have done a lot more and just outlefted the Democrats more to really secure his nomination, and he didn't. He really didn't.
Well, I mean, this was before the Nancy Pelosi meltdown. She really just handed Donald Trump a gift right there.
Yeah.
I mean, she made the Democrats look so bad. People are going to be questioning a lot of things.
So elitist.
It is.
They look more elitist. They look more elitist than the Republicans, because you guys have to know, and I keep saying this, that Hitler was able to get the working class, and that's why he rose to power. If you could get a fascist to get the working class. I mean, right now the Democrats are so bad that they've lost all of the working class, and the Republican Party has managed to kind of shift their positions to get a lot of the white working class that felt completely dismissed by the elitism in the Democratic Party. And that's why we saw this shift of these people to Donald Trump, especially in middle America, especially in the South, where a lot of people who think that Joe Biden's going to win completely dismiss those areas. They've never been to them. They don't talk to those people. You have to understand how people are thinking outside of your Democratic bubble, especially living in such a liberal state like California, where people are completely under one different impression than and live in different conditions than people live in middle America in the South.
And, he could still make a move, too. Donald Trump can still make a move. He can still come out and say something and do something. If I were him, just, hey, pass the standalone bill right now. I'll sign it. If not, I'll sign another executive order. If that's what I got to do, if Nancy Pelosi's and the Democrats aren't going to get things done, I don't care. Just do something right now. And I really wish that somebody would address rent relief, fam, because that is going to be, that's just looming in the background.
In California.
Oh, my Lord. That's looming in the background. And when that happens, Johnny, the tsunami of evictions are coming. That's right. I'm talking to you, pal, over there. You got anything else to say on this subject before we get off? Because I can sit here and talk
we could talk
crap
forever
about Nancy Pelosi all day. But wow. I mean, just wow. We feed them. That's all you need to hear. That's all you need to hear.
And until we defeat people like Nancy Pelosi, we're never going to be able to get actual opposition to the Republican Party.
Yeah. Okay. Johnny, anything else? Let's get to the next topic. I know you are dying to hear about it. It's an update on Armenia and Azerbaijan. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's up on the YouTube. We have 262 watching, but only 118 likes. We don't have a thumb down. Let's get some more likes. And please, let's do that. And also, Rokfin, you have 12 people over there. Ladies and gentlemen, I will get in trouble. We need 20. Don't get me in trouble over here. Go over to our Rokfin, Rokfin. You got good people hanging out over there like Carrie Mark, Fred Edward, Independent Left News. Thank you so much, guys.
You're awesome.
And Jose Tavares is hanging out today as well. Where the hell is Pishman? Somebody go get his ass. Wake him up. So watch both if you can. There go the likes. They're shooting up. Thank you so much. So, Armenia, Azerbaijan, shit is going on. Let me pull up this article we got from Moon of Alabama. I almost said it right the first time. So if you didn't hear, fam, there has been a ceasefire that has gone on in Nagorno-Karabakh, but it's unlikely to hold. So let's read a lot of this article. This is one of the better articles I saw out there. I was reading a lot about it. Because if you start thinking about this conflict, and we've been talking about this too, Turkey is siding with Azerbaijan, you know what I'm saying? And then you have and they're assisting this country against Armenia, who, once again, you have the Armenian genocide and their long-standing, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say war, but...
Quagmire.
Whatever it is, with Turkey and Armenia, their conflict, whatnot, they've been at each other's throats for a long, long time. And so let's read about this. This is the ceasefire in Nagorno-Karabakh is unlikely to hold. Armenia and Azerbaijan have agreed to a ceasefire in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. The war over Nagorno-Karabakh was already near a stalemate. While the attacking of Azerbaijan troops were able to gain a few uninhabited villages in southern lowlands, success elsewhere it was scarce. They compensated for that by using loitering ammunition from Israel and Turkey against badly camouflaged Armenian tanks and by shelling civilians in a place called Stepanakert, the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh. So we asked Mark Sobotta when he was on the show just about this paragraph right here. It's like, what is the end game for Azerbaijan? They want to get that land back. They want to get that territory back. Now remember, Azerbaijan is a much more richer country than Armenia. There's a lot of oil over there. So I think they thought with Turkey's help, they can just roll over this area and Armenia would pull out, get out of that region and give it back to them. That is not the case. Russia decided that it was the right time to intervene. After 3 weeks, another situation happened where you have thousands of civilians that are getting killed right here. So Russia decided it was a time right now. We have to do something before this gets out of hand. Yesterday, the foreign ministers of Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia met in Moscow. After 10 hours of talks, they agreed to a ceasefire. A ceasefire agreement in Nagorno-Karabakh starting at noon on October 10th has been reached, which is just a couple days ago. And after a trilateral consultations in Moscow between foreign ministers of Russia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, the Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov said on Saturday, a ceasefire is declared beginning at noon with humanitarian aid of exchanging prisoners of war and other captured persons, as well as the exchange of bodies of victims, with the facilitation of the International Committee of the Red Cross and in line with its regulations. Lavrov stated early on Saturday, signing a joint statement signed by the foreign ministers of Armenia and Azerbaijan. Now listen, this is just a ceasefire. They're grabbing up troops. They're exchanging prisoners. They're giving more civilians time to leave, trying to tape it up. But a lot of people in the community, in the foreign policy community, don't think it's going to last long. The details of the ceasefire will still have to be worked out. Both parties agreed to future negotiations should a ceasefire hold. The republics of Azerbaijan and Armenia, with the mediation, I almost said meditation, of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs, and based on the principles of the conflict settlements, begin practical negotiations with the main task of reaching the peace settlement as soon as possible. The statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry reads. Now, the interesting thing about this, fam, is that if you go down to the next kind of paragraph, there was a group that was left out of it. Turkey was left out of these talks.
Right. Noticed.
Erdogan was really, really pissed off. He wanted a seat at the table at Moscow. That's why he kind of facilitated this whole kind of malarkiness going on. And not for nothing, fam. We talk about Erdogan and his actions. It has been really, really outlandish and out of hand. What he did in Syria with jihadists, what he did in Yemen with jihadists. He has caused problems with both sides all over the place. He's stuck his nose in there just so he can get a seat at the table with Russia whenever he wants to, when he thinks he can sit down and get something done. So his way of working things with this kind of like neo-Ottoman Empire kind of mentality of, of expanding, Turkey's influence in that region, the way he goes about doing it, a lot of people die when he does it. Now he's been sending jihadists over there on a regular basis. We're going to get into that. But he was not invited to the table. It says Turkey's wannabe Sultan Erdogan is miffed about this. Today, today again, he demanded a seat at the table. The Russians mediated a ceasefire with Azerbaijan and Armenia over the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region cannot be considered a solution to the conflict, the Turkish Foreign Ministry has said, reaffirming its support from Baku. The suspension of hostilities in a contested region brokered in Moscow overnight is an important first step, but it will not replace a permanent solution, Ankara said on Saturday. Turkey will continue to stand by Azerbaijan on the battlefield and at the negotiation tables. The statement from the Turkish Foreign Ministry added.
Was it a good idea? Should they have reached out to him to have a proper seat at the table? Do you think it would have done anything?
Now, listen, I won't have the best answer on this. People like Mark Sloboda will be a little bit, more knowledgeable when it comes to this, but I think it's great. I think it's great. So you want to cause problems? I don't give a shit. It's not going to work. You're not getting a seat at a table. This is an ex-Russian country, and just because you support them, we sell them weapons too. We have a lot of deals with them. We're going to work out a deal with them in Armenia.
It doesn't concern you, in other words.
It doesn't. But once again, Erdogan is always trying to stick his nose in there. You know how many people died in Syria because of Erdogan? I mean, it's ridiculous what he did. And the jihadists, just sending the jihadists. Well,
that's our ally, though.
Yeah. Well, Max Blumenthal put this tweet up here because I want to understand a little bit of a history of this region and whatnot and stuff. Because let's start off with Murad Gazdiev's tweet there. It says 119 Syrian mercenaries have been killed fighting in Azerbaijan. 78 bodies have been returned to Syria. The Syrian Observatory of Human Rights says. SOHR adds that 1,450 Islamist fighters have been transported to Azerbaijan since the conflict began, and another 400 are on the way. So we're talking about 2,000 mercenaries, jihadists, being sent by Erdogan to the front lines of Armenia right now. Well, the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which is technically greater Azerbaijan, but as we know, that region has been controlled, and mostly those Orthodox Christians of Armenia live there. So now you have this kind of jihadist kind of Christians versus Muslim war going on, and it could spin really out of hand. And also just Max Blumenthal, he likes to just reiterate, just a few years ago, officials in Obama's State Department were celebrating these mercenaries as humbled farmers and doctors, and comparing them to the men who won America's war for independence.
I mean, just like they celebrated the White Helmets, which are just an auxiliary group for the jihadists, for Al-Qaeda type of groups. I mean, this is why they're trying to shut down journalists that I covered yesterday or this morning about, exposing the fake Syrian chemical attacks, because these are U.S. and Western war crimes. This is U.S. and UK fomented terrorism. This is our creation. I mean, at the end of the day, what Erdogan's doing is also what our government, our military industrial complex is doing, and the UK government has also participated in this, along with their allies of Turkey, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. That is what's really going on. And then you have Russia, Iran, Syria, and now with this conflict in with the Armenians and Azerbaijan, you have another added layer to this whole Eastern conflict.
And let me tell you something. It's a headache for Russia what's going on over there right now, fam. It is a real big headache. And a lot of times, we've heard Donald Trump talk about NATO needs to pay their fair share. This is ridiculous. We're not going to pick up the bill. But, if NATO still exists, you can use your power within NATO to say, hey, Turkey, Erdogan, Statazi, shut up, sit down, don't get involved. But you don't do that. You don't see that happening.
Well, because he's surrounded by neocons.
Exactly, and all the Pompeos and all these other people. If it's a conflict that Russia it's a headache for Russia geopolitically, that's good for America. So therefore, we don't care if lives are being killed. Even though we have a lot of Armenian brethren here in Los Angeles, somebody should have been calling for a ceasefire right away. And Erdogan up to his tricks again. And not to just mention that, that whole comment that Max Blumenthal put up there is what Tulsi Gabbard went after Obama for. And she was criticized for it and stuff like that, saying, how dare you downplay these jihadists as just farmers and no.
Yeah.
These are serious jihads that when they get into these little towns and these states, when you talk about Idlib, I was talking about this with Howard Gold. Once you get these jihads get into a town, it's done. It's done, because these are the worst of the worst. These are the birth of the Mujahideen, which are the most radical, crazy son of a bitches out there.
Yeah.
And now, remember the one where you put the sign up with the ISIS sign up, and they put it in there, we shoot it up, and then we take the ISIS sign out and go? That's what this is all about.
Yeah, same same shit, different name. And you said it right there. I mean, this is exactly what keeps happening over and over again. And Max Blumenthal pointed it out. And I just think we need to keep talking about things like this, because our Armenians, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, they tend to vote more conservatively, don't they? In LA, that's been what I've
really
seen.
To tell you the truth, they don't necessarily vote conservative or liberal. They more or less, and there's been a bunch of Armenian Trump supporters right now and whatnot, and they're out there and stuff. There was a bunch for Tulsi, whatnot. They go more who aligns with them geopolitically. You know what I'm saying? The reason why they stuck that area where there's a lot
party right now.
It's neither party right now, but I mean, with Tulsi, got a lot of play from them because once again, she was against the jihad, she was against the Saudi Arabian government,
and
she
that's
was against
another
Turkey.
Thing. You're anti-Muslim. They use that trope really quickly,
very much,
because it's like no. Journalists have literally outlined how there are extremist groups that were created and funded by the West.
Exactly.
And were backed by the West in these coups. And, everything that we tried to do to Assad and the vilification of Assad, etc. But that's a reality. That's not anti-Muslim bigotry. That's a reality. Just like when you criticize the state of Israel, it is not anti-Semitism. You're criticizing their pro-imperialist takes and what they're doing to the Palestinian people, which, of course, nobody in America really in government is talking about enough at all.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's people who this is their main wheelhouse. They're over in that region. They follow this on a regular basis. But what we're doing over here right now, this needs to be talked about. That's why we bring these things up. We have to at least have a basic understanding about what's going on. We have to take out some of our time from our domestic world and look what's going on foreign policy-wise. It does make a difference. It's where money is spent. It's the way, I mean, and how can we say that we have serious racism at home, but ignore the racism abroad when we're bombing indigenous people left and right and whatnot? A lot of this weaponry that we see going on comes from us. NATO weapons, these weapons that these jihads got, they came from us.
Yep.
And now they're going over there. Now, I also put up this article over here, fam, because I just wanted to confirm the numbers that Max Blumenthal, Moon of Alabama we're talking about. So I found this article over here. I was reading a lot of articles yesterday. It's got a cool little video that kind of explains things. Johnny, can we play a little bit of the video from the beginning? Well, we won't watch it all the way through, but I don't think there's any music. It's really good. But it just kind of explains and it confirms some of the jihadist numbers and what's going on.
As of October 13th, clashes between Armenian and Azerbaijani forces continue in the southern part of the contested Nagorno-Karabakh region, while on other parts of the front line, Baku and Yerevan limited their military activity to exchange of artillery and aerial strikes. The humanitarian ceasefire signed by the sides at Moscow formally remains in force, but the terms of the ceasefire are not fulfilled by both sides. The main point of instability is the town of Hardut, which Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev announced to have been liberated from Armenian occupants. However, Armenian forces apparently forgot to read his tweet and withdraw from the area. So now the Azerbaijani leader is forced to explain what's going on. On October 12th, he stated that a large group of Armenian special forces attacked the town to make a few selfies for Armenian propaganda, but the attack was repelled. Although from a strategic point of view, it does not matter so much for Armenia. They just take such a step to go there and take a selfie or report to their population. The Azerbaijani army neutralized this large group, Aliyev stressed. The Armenian military says that the town is still in the hands of its forces and that it has successfully repelled another Azerbaijani attack there. Turkey has been openly threatening Armenia with a joint Turkish-Azerbaijani advance if it does not surrender the contested Nagorno-Karabakh region to Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar said that Baku cannot wait for justice for another 30 years, claiming that Turkey is ready to support the fair position of the Azerbaijani side. According to Akar, if the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh is not resolved in the near future, then the next step will be the Azerbaijani-Turkish movement aimed at returning their land. Sources affiliated with Turkish-backed militant groups in Syria say that Ankara has been preparing for a new deployment of militant groups members to Azerbaijan to support its war with Armenia. If the numbers of 1,500 to 2,000 fresh militants that are set to come to Azerbaijan are confirmed, this will not only make the estimated number of Turkish proxies deployed there from 4,000 to 6,000, but also confirm that Ankara is set to use its influence to motivate Azerbaijan to opt for the scenario of a further escalation. Likely, the Turkish leadership seems that the war in Karabakh is an important turning point, which, in the event of military success, will turn into the leading power in the Southern Caucasus and give additional momentum to its geopolitical expansion. It will also boost the popularity of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, that positions himself as the leader of the Turkic world and a de facto sultan of his own Neo-Ottoman Empire.
There you go.
According to the Armenian side, the Turkish
I just want to
military
get to that
is
point where we
already
kind of talk to them about the Neo-Ottoman Empire, what it's trying to going on,
Yeah.
the geopolitics of this whole situation. Once again, we've talked about Turkey and how much problems they've caused in this region with Syria, kind of fencing off with Greece now. And what he's trying to do, he's trying to make a move where, he's moving against Orthodox Christians for other Muslims that he's supporting. But now they're caught in a little bit of a quagmire because the Azerbaijani president has been saying that they've been taking little pockets of land and it shows that they're not. Inside that article, it even says right here, and instead on the film, the main point of instability of the town of Hadrut was Azerbaijani president announced to have been liberated from the Armenian occupants. However, Armenian forces apparently forgot to read his tweet and withdraw from the area. So now the Azerbaijani leader is forced to explain what's going on. So now in this situation, he's looking like a fool, and he's standing behind Erdogan. And like I said, they thought they would just be a pushover, you know what I'm saying, in this region, whatnot. But no, the Armenians, like we know people that have said they have friends that have come, that have left LA to go back and fight in this conflict on the front lines over there, because that's how important this land is to them, whatnot, and how holy it is that they're going to hold it on, especially when Turkey has thrown its hat in the ring, being what Turkey with the genocide of how many Armenians, over 1 million Armenians, fam. So this has gotten really heated. It's spun way out of control right now. A ceasefire is in place, but we don't know how long it's going to last for. They're talking with Putin. Putin has left Erdogan out. To be continued. I got to call up Mark Sloboda and get some more insight.
Bam. Foreign policy is directly connected to our domestic policy.
But people got to understand the domino effect. If Turkey is getting more and more involved. Now, we see 6,000 proxies from Turkey fighting for Azerbaijan. So now if Russia gets involved with Turkey, Turkey's a NATO ally, United States will do something, and now you're spinning way out of control. Way out of control, and this touches home. The next time there is an Armenian protest or a rally, I'm going to go out there and see it. If there was an Azerbaijani one, I'd go out and see it too as well. But we're going to talk to some of the people, because this is some people who are close to us over here. Being from LA, I have a lot of Armenian friends. I've reached out to them recently to see how they're doing. To be continued, but we have to pay attention to the situation, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let it fly by. Keep your eye on it. See what's going on. Watch America's position. America's sitting on the sidelines right now. Why, fam? Because geopolitically, it's a headache for Russia, and that's what they want. People will die because geopolitically, it plays well for Pompeo and Trump.
100%. I mean, both parties are complicit. And fam, so just going back to the United States, which is, of course, all this money we're spending militarily, we have always endless, but we don't have money for better political candidates. We don't have money for fair and free elections. We don't have money for healthcare during a pandemic. We don't have money for rent cancellation or anything of that matter. So of course people are suffering, and there's this whole debate still. Right? Like, you have to vote for Biden, or you can vote third party. Oh, you have to vote for Biden. And Brianna Joy Gray went and interviewed Noam Chomsky on her show, on her podcast. And she worked for the Bernie campaign. She's a progressive for sure. She's definitely one of the good ones. But Noam Chomsky brought up this fallacy of an argument that voting third party is basically what he said is you're working to elect Trump if you're not voting for the nominee, which is Joe Biden, right? So let's watch a little bit of how this argument panned out, and we can talk about it in a minute.
Yeah,
what are the long-term consequences of everybody on the broad left, Democrats, liberals, everyone, saying that under any circumstances, we will vote for a Democratic candidate as long as they are incrementally better than the Republican candidate? Does that way of thinking contribute to the rightward shift of the Democratic Party over years? And what mechanism will ever stop that shift if we're not willing to ever, under any circumstances, leverage our votes?
What you're saying, if you think it through, is we should help Trump win because maybe in the long run, that'll affect the Democratic Party. That's a terrible choice. Helping Trump win, as you're proposing, would mean 4 more years of destruction of the environment, getting possibly to tipping points, which would be irreversible, certainly making any effort to deal with it very difficult. It would mean stacking the judiciary with young, ultra-right lawyers, top to bottom, so that nothing would be possibly done for a generation, and I can go on and on. I don't think that's a wise choice, just on the hope that maybe sometime in the long term, the Democratic Party will pay attention to the fact that you're part of the 50% of non-voters.
I take the multi-generational threat very seriously. As a Black American whose family members have been living as a third tier in American society. My mother was born into an America that didn't recognize her basic human rights. In 1960, she's a relatively young woman. And so what concerns me is the way in which the vote blue no matter who mindset basically privileges more recent concerns that are equally grave as more long-standing concerns that are built in the status quo, and says we have to vote for X candidate to prevent X ill from happening. At the same time, those who have suffered under the status quo never seem to get an opportunity to have their issues heard.
So, fam, what do you think of Noam Chomsky's assertion that she's working to elect Trump, even though she definitely said absolutely nothing related to that?
I don't know. I was waiting for it to get more heated. I wanted to see him come back.
Well, I guess we could watch the whole thing.
The whole thing is that when this particular clip right now, I have to agree 1,000% with Brianna Joy Gray. I mean, she was the best, I thought, pundit to Bernie Sanders, working for that campaign by far. And she's 100% right to point out that, listen, what you're doing is you're kind of this blue no matter who mentality, and surrendering right away is not really going to help anything. I don't agree with Noam Chomsky whatsoever, because when he says, oh, you're talking about irreversible damage done to the planet. I mean, you got Joe Biden out there screaming, we're not going to ban fracking. We're not going to ban fracking. I mean,
right. Well,
what world do you live in where the Democrats haven't been equally as bad, if not worse than sometimes, because they act like you're your friends. They act like they're going to stop, fracking, but then they don't. I mean, isn't that worse, fam?
Yeah, he's out of touch. That's what it is. He's a very privileged intellectual who is out of touch with the working class and the small and ever shrinking middle class in America right now. I mean, he's completely out of touch, because it is a privileged point of view, as I stated before, to continue saying, vote for the lesser of evils, vote for the lesser of evils, vote for the lesser of evils as a working class person, when you actually do need health care because you can't afford it, when you actually have student debt, when you can't count on not getting evicted or you can't pay your rent. So you know that a half measure that is basically going to along the eventual downfall of you and the lives of everybody else isn't going to do it. So you don't have the privilege of advocating for incrementalism. You don't have that privilege. You need that healthcare. You need that that actual ability to make money and survive working 40 hours a week. So when somebody presents to you a half measure, you can't afford to vote for it. So the idea that voting for Joe Biden is the best thing you can do is wrong. It is privileged to vote for Joe Biden. Working class people who have nothing to lose and everything to lose at the same time, who have lost the vast majority of everything, think about it differently because they see the system over and over again going towards incrementalism. And yet they never, as she mentioned, get their issues heard. They never get to actually talk about, hey, I'm poor and I live in a Democratic supermajority, but it's okay as long as we beat Donald Trump. That's what keeps happening over and over again. And allowing that cycle to repeat over and over again is what allows the pushing of the party further to the right. And that is far worse in the long run than actually voting your conscience. And also, it's very arrogant to think that not voting for Joe Biden is a vote for Trump when that vote was never Biden's or the Democratic Party to begin with.
There's no such thing as a protest vote. Your vote is your vote. You vote for who you want to vote. That your vote is your vote. There's no such thing as a protest vote. And what incrementalism have we really got? I mean, we're talking about going back to the status quo. What was better under Obama? You know what I'm saying? And I talk about maybe the EPA, but he was the fracker in chief, Obama. He let the Keystone Pipeline go ahead. Standing Rock, he let people get their heads bashed in and said, we'll see how it plays out. Biden didn't say anything. Biden opened up his campaign taking fracking money. Where Medicare for all? He said he would veto it. What do we get there? Back to Obamacare, where millions of people are left out in the dust. I know it helps some people.
And it helped. But the Obama years helped foment support for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The failure of addressing those concerns when he had the popularity, he had both houses at one point. He had all this immense momentum and support, and he was able to achieve absolutely nothing for the working class except taking wealth away from them and putting it at the very top.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And nobody's going to forget about how he deregulated the banks and he bailed out Wall Street. Nobody's going to forget that because so many people lost their homes. So when you ignore that and just say that voting for Biden, who represents the system that helped create the conditions for Donald Trump, then yes, then what you're saying is basically a circular thing that doesn't make logical sense. It's just not logical to say what he is saying, and I think he's simply just out of touch. I respect a lot of the work he's done, but at the end of the day, what we're seeing right now is a divide in class. Domestically in the United States, we are a class division right now because the vast majority of people do not have that much wealth at all, combined in the millions as the vast top 1%. I mean, this is it. Bernie Sanders' rant. I mean, these are facts that have gotten worse since that man ran for president. So
and we said the top 50 billionaires have as much as the bottom 165 million people, has half the country. I mean, that's really crazy when you think about it. And I keep on saying, well, what area do we get better when we get Joe Biden over Donald Trump? Because it's definitely not foreign policy. If anything, Donald Trump's foreign policy, which isn't great foreign policy, has been better than Joe Biden's. Joe Biden pushed regime change out in the blue with Ukraine and did his funny business in China and was all about the freaking what happened with Manuel Zelaya, in Libya and all these situations. He pushed for the Iraq war. He sewed up the Democratic Senate for, George Bush to be able to go into Iraq. He was the main support for that. So, and then people say the judges, fam, right? Oh, Noam Chomsky, the judges. Well, what about the judges the Democrats elect? Can you give a little insight on that? Because I don't think they're that liberal or progressive judges.
They're not.
Anyways.
I mean, the courts in general have been conservative for a long time. I mean, none of these people, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who voted for more pipelines, for more oil, who has completely racial blind spots throughout her whole career, have been actually progressive. They've just been hailed by liberals as progressive because of symbolic gestures that they presented. And also, again, when they point out to the judiciary, as Chomsky does, he's completely ignoring the fact that we shouldn't have to be blackmailed like that over this. There should be complete legislation to say, you know what? We have to have term limits. We can't do this anymore. And the judges should be maybe voted on. Should the president be appointing all these people? I don't think that system is any longer serving its purpose, and there's nothing wrong with amending things when that happens.
And a lot of problems is our legislation keeps kicking stuff up to the courts because they don't want to deal with it themselves. If we have a good body, a good legislation, we can eliminate a lot of the court's decisions. It's just the fact that our Congress is too chicken shits to make moves, so they defer to the courts. They defer to the courts on anything. So if we replace the body, the Congress, the legislation, half the work from the courts will be taken away from them because we can enact good legislation that the people want. So don't be so scared when it comes to the courts. The courts are doing so much work because the Congress itself is lazy and wants to avoid any accountability, so they keep kicking things up to the court rather than making good legislation in the body that we vote them in for. So we change that. We don't even have to worry about so many of these judges, right? So we could just change the legislation, take a lot of power out of their hands. So don't give me this shit about the judges. The only area I really am concerned about was the whole appointee of Betsy DeVos, because once again, it was the EPA. I thought maybe Biden could be more green than Donald Trump because he was so bad at it. I didn't expect any help from Donald Trump. When it comes to the pipeline, it's a beautiful, beautiful pipeline. It's a great pipeline. It's going to create jobs. You know, that's the whole thing when Donald Trump goes, there is a military-industrial complex. Yeah, well, stop feeding it, buddy. Stop going back to the jobs, the contracts. It provides so many jobs building weapons. You know what I'm saying? These are areas I had a lot of concern when it came for Donald Trump. And I thought when it came to the environment, Joe Biden would be a little bit better. But no. He's out there screaming. He's even given...
He knows science. He believes in science.
But I'm not going to ban fracking.
He's not going to ban fracking.
And he said he was going to ban fracking.
What's worse? I don't know.
Kamala Harris said she was going to ban fracking, and they're not banning fracking. So why are you going to even believe him? But the EPA is one of the only other... other than the EPA, the school choice situation, which we have a big effed up situation when it comes to education, with the Betsy DeVos kind of situation is one area of concern. But I don't know if Joe Biden would do any better and who he would appoint if he got in there. He'd probably go along the same ways, and it would be more sinister and more hidden in the shadows, his agenda. So I don't even know if we can get clarification on that. Sorry, Nom. Nom.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Nom.
He's completely off on
out of
that,
touch.
and I think she gave great arguments. Yeah, he's out of touch. The thing is, you're not going to win. You're not going to tell people. You're not going to make people vote for Joe Biden by telling them that they're helping Trump. That didn't work 4 years ago. It's not going to work now.
Yeah. Aaron, thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Fam, you were waiting for that one. Have you seen Keith Olbermann's new YouTube channel? He's nuts. He's been nuts for a while.
Sure.
TDS has affected no one as much as it's affected Keith Olbermann.
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep up with him, so no. But
well, I haven't watched him in a while, but he lost it early, and I went away from him a long time ago. Guys, we have 14 people on the Rokfin. You are going to get me in trouble over here, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. 20. We had 18 at one point. We're paying attention. We love you there. We need your help. Johnny, you got some in the news stuff we want to talk about? All right. Okay, so let's put this up here real quick. Raji Rob has just put up alarming news in the LA Times, and the Daily News shows a major disaster for election integrity and fraud is a big public issue. Fam, it is a big public issue, and nobody's paying attention to it. Monopoly of one company for printing and storage of ballots must end. This is what we talked about. You got to go down the rabbit hole, right? The LA Times put this article up.
But ballot harvesting isn't a thing. Voted by mail is so secure.
Some 2,100 LA County voters got ballots missing one thing: a way to vote president. How stupid do you have to feel as a Democrat right now when you're going around and you're telling people? I see people doing this all the time. I had a phone call from Greenpeace trying to tell me, voting ballots are the safest way. They're all safe. And I got into it with the person like, no, I meant it's safe for COVID. You don't have to get COVID. Yeah, but you kind of obfuscated, and you kind of said that the mail-in ballot situation is safe. Do you know who has the contract in LA? Do you know what the contract says? Do you understand that this is a big area ripe for fraud? Jimmy Carter said so, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Carter said so. Ripe for fraud. And so many people will be getting ballots right now that don't have the president on there. Not
to mention the fact that was just really stupid, especially with all the money that we get taxed and all this crap. What are we paying for an inept system right here in LA. But also the fact that there's no way to secure where these ballots are being stored, how they're being transported, etc., etc. And they're really pushing the drop it in here thing here in LA. I mean, I can't tell you how many texts I've gotten from everywhere in general about like voting and how I should just drop my ballot in. I'm taking that ballot in. Like, I'm not just doing that thing. No, like, I don't trust this election system because I've seen it fail and I've seen it be corrupt in action. We both have. We all have right here, all of us here. And what Raji Rab is doing, of course, and Jonny has been following the story extremely close, is trying to bring light to this. But most people who are preaching about elections right now are saying, well, Trump's going to steal the election, and they're completely ignoring how Democrats also steal elections.
Yeah, I mean, it caused a big problem right here in Woodland Hills. This is that area, and so Woodland Hills got a little bit more money, little homeowners out there. They're a little bit more likely to have more Trump voters in that pocket over there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this was done by accident or but why don't you call the registrar, Dean Logan's office, and ask him, who made this problem? It says taxpayers, $300 million spent on unreliable vote count machines must be refunded. The American people must be trusted, hired, and handsomely paid for a publicly telecast manual vote count with mask and social distancing in our election. Let's help fund our people and defeat fraud. Listen, we have so many systemic problems within our elections and whatnot. What's going on? I believe personally that because I'm a big believer in the chain of custody. I'm going to talk about this a lot. Chain of custody. And that's when you have a lot of mail-in ballots that the chain of custody gets so far out of whack. When you have ballot harvesting, it gets even further out of whack. Think about it. As a ballot harvester, you hand that ballot over to somebody. You don't know where that ballot's going, where it's going to be, where it's going to end up. It's out of everybody's eyes. It's not even controlled. If you had simple tracking, you know where the ballot is. You know what I'm saying? But they don't want to fix this on this because they want to have the ability to stuff the ballots when they can. That's what the Democrats are doing.
Or disappear them.
Or disappear them.
Not count them.
You know, the Republicans, they disenfranchise the voter rolls. They kick minorities off the voter rolls. They've been doing that for so long because they normally vote Democrat. You know what I'm saying? I said that's a little bit of a problem for Donald Trump because he wants to get the most Latino votes this time, the most people of color votes this time. So they have to be really meticulous about who they remove from the polls. But that's what the Republicans do. We know what they do. Now we've been catching on to what the Democrats have been doing since we've been following these primaries because they cheat the progressive in the primary. The same voter that's cheated in the general that the Republicans cheat, the Democrats have already cheated in the primary. So how do you cheat? How does Donald Trump take the election when it's already been taken from Bernie Sanders? But this whole situation right here now, ladies and gentlemen, we have how many ballots are all messed up, Jonny, total? 20, was it 21,000, 2,100, or whatever the case may be? Why don't you call the registrar, ask them, who prints these ballots? Are these done at your office? They'll say no. We have a third-party contract doing it. What's that third-party contract? I want to see that contract. Where they at? Where they from? What do they do? What are they responsible for? What are their powers?
Are they donating to political candidates?
Exactly. Then you could try to find out who owns them because it's another zombie corporation of another zombie corporation. They do that all the time. So you don't even know who they actually owns them. It's proprietary, their ownership. And then you'll start understanding that this is an area that we need to fix. Our overall elections need to be fixed. But to say at any point that there aren't problems with the mail-ins, the absentees, it's delusional. It's delusional. We have some serious problems, and this is an area we need to fix.
So an update on the case. So Raji here says, our election contest in court has been delayed. November 2020 election ballots printed and early voting started. We presented expert declarations, evidence of illegal access to vote count in the primary election, and the judgment is expected soon. So the judge hasn't replied yet as of today. So what happened is that, Raji filed his lawsuit, which is called a petition for writ of mandate. And then he amended that. And then, so there was the first amended petition for writ of mandate. And then the opposition, which is LA County, Board of Elections, or, the election officials, Dean Logan specifically, and then Raji also lists the Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State, Alex Padilla. They actually hired a private law firm. It's called Collins & Collins. And to go up against Raji. Raji's representing himself for fear of that lawyers will turn on him and tell him, oh, you ain't got the case and stuff, because it's happened before. He has this experience. He went to the Supreme Court in 2018. So now they try to demur it. The demur is to dismiss the case, saying that there's no grounds for the case or something like that. And then that happens twice, and then the judge gave him a chance to rewrite his writ of mandate. So recently, at the end of September, early October, he submitted his second petition for writ of mandate, and we're gonna provide links to this. I'm working on a segment with Raji to kind of explain it all. But basically, he's alleging that malconduct happened, which is an election code, 16100A and B. Or not A and B, A and another subsection, but malconduct happened through fraud. Fraud being that Dean Logan accessed the vote count, the mail by vote, early mail by vote by mail ballots 10 days prior to the election, and through discovery he got access to the operating manual of the tally machine, which contradicts their statements that they made to him on the night of the election, which is that the machine is not 2-in-1, doesn't scan and tabulate. It does scan and tabulate.
Yeah.
It takes a picture of the ballot and then immediately is able to read what it says, and it puts it somewhere. And if you're an administrator or you have a special type of password, in his latest writ of mandate, 2 experts agree with Raji that if you're an administrator and you have access to the password, you can access that. So there's an access point. There's an access point there, and if the defendants, Dean Logan and LA County Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State, specifically Dean Logan, gave Raji an actual fair opportunity to go do discovery to the machine so they can get the logs that tell you when someone logs in and makes changes, because that's in the operating manual too, that there's a log of that, but they haven't done it, even with a court-ordered thing.
Yeah.
So, this is ridiculous.
Because they don't want the truth to come out. They don't.
And the judge is kind of just like delaying it. I don't know. She hasn't been.
They got the judges too.
Yeah.
They got the judges too.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Listen, Raji Rob said this before, and you have to understand this. Early counting is early fraud. Simple as that. You don't need to count early. That's why it was so disheartening to see Bernie Sanders saying we have to allow states to start counting early. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. First of all, this is the whole problem, and I understand the pandemic is here and you want to do more mail-in ballots because your system sucks and you have long lines and you don't want people out there, getting COVID and stuff, but you can't start the counting early. You don't need to. It's a false statement. Those machines, what happens on election night, are supposed to start counting on election night.
Yep.
Once they start counting all those nights, they might count for a couple days. Here they go. They stop. They're done counting, and they're waiting for more ballots to come in before they start counting again. You don't need to start counting early. Those machines count how many ballots fast at one time. Come on. You don't. Early counting means you get an early advantage to know what's going on. Okay, so now we're counting early. I know in Woodland Hills, fam, that Donald Trump is giving Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a run for their money. So now I'm going to get my people. I'm going to whip my people out in the streets to get more people to the polls in that area. Also, what I can do now, and what they did to Bernie in 2016, is if you have a lot of ballots for, let's say one candidate, you can kind of disqualify them or not let them go through and kick them to the back. In other words, they say they're not completely validated yet. It's almost like a mail-in, what's the one? A placebo. What do you call those ones?
A provisional.
A mail-in provisional of sorts. In other words, they don't validate it right away.
Right.
If you have early information and early counting, you get a game plan of like what the team's doing. It's like knowing the team's play before they run it, and you're the defense and you already have their play because you have that early information. Now you can fix your election in many ways. You can either you can get more votes from a certain area to even out the election. You can disqualify and kick some of those ballots to the end, because that's the whole thing. If they were able to look, Johnny, on who went into the system and what, they might also see what's going on with these ballots and what they're doing to them. There's so much more information. You know what I'm saying? They could see that Dean Logan went on there and disqualified a couple ballots, and it gets kicked to the back to be counted at a later date, maybe never to be counted at all. And by doing so, you can say, okay, Joe Biden has won this area. It's wrapped up. people don't go to the polls. They said, I'm not going to go out. It's already done. He's winning by a big amount. You can tweak the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did to Bernie Sanders in the primary.
They did. They did it in 2016, too, more than anything.
Right.
Remember all the states that were flipped? Because they were going back and saying, you need to verify these ballots. Supposedly, in the state of California, Hillary Clinton won on election night by 12%. And I went to the Santa Monica airport when Bernie Sanders spoke and says, we're going to wait until all the ballots are counted. Then a month later, all of a sudden, cities were flipping. Counties were flipping for Bernie Sanders. Why? Because they used the early information to distort the numbers, to hoodwink the public, and people were like, I'm not going to vote now. Why should I go out and vote? Why should I stay in line? Nancy Pelosi. Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, same person. They've already won. They've already got it done. So what am I going to do? So early counting is early fraud. It's another thing. They're not allowed to do that. And now they've also slipped a law by in California that says they're allowed to early vote count now. Johnny, what do you got up there?
This video.
That was just our first interview of Raji. There's some really good footage in there that I lost of the machines in action. So you can see details here about how as soon as you put the stack of ballots in, it just completely, it's like instantaneously,
Yeah,
just
why would you
boom,
need to count
boom,
early?
Boom, boom, boom.
Why would you need to count early?
And this was on the night of the election.
I mean, I think we should have a paper trail.
It should be
ballots.
both,
yeah.
To check on the machine because the machine could be wrong.
Let me tell you something. These ballots and these machines should be counted right in the precinct. Well, as soon as you get out of that precinct, the chain of custody goes out of whack. You know what I'm saying? And if it's going to be transported somewhere to be counted, I mean, it's so ridiculous. You have these vote centers that pick up these ballots. They might do a tally for whatever. Nobody really checks that. Then they take it to a satellite location, and then that satellite location takes it to the registrar's office where they do the counting. I mean, so now you got these ballots going to two different spots before they're even counted, fam. That's not good for the chain of custody. You can do so many things with these ballots. I mean, that's why that whole ballot harvesting bill makes a lot of sense. Let's repair the chain of custody. Luis Brooks put, UPS can track priority mail, but we can't track ballots. They don't want us to vote.
Yeah, they don't want us to track our ballot
Think
because
about
then
it.
they'll know where it goes.
I'm Granny Smith. I get my ballot. It comes. It's been tracked. I put it in. I give it to the mailman. The mailman hits it. Bloop. It's tracked. Boom. There it is. But if I can just say, hey, fam, take my ballot in for me. Here you go. Now it's out of the sight of the public. Now the chain of custody is out of whack. Fam could say, I don't want that ballot. She just threw it in the trash because I voted for Bernie or Tulsi. All right, that could happen. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or manipulate it. There's so many different ways to manipulate the whole process, and it's really disgusting. We need to get into this whole election integrity thing and really bring some
and it
good.
needs to stop being a partisan thing. This is a U.S. thing. Like this impacts every single person living here.
Yeah, Johnny, what did we get over there? I saw something come up from Streamlabs. We get a new subscription. Hey, thank you for our new subscriber.
Did you get that super chat?
I did get that. Was Luis Brooks.
Okay.
That was the super
yes,
chat. He said we could track priority mail. Like I said, Amazon
Luis
mail
is
you something. It'll be
woman.
like, it's now 6 blocks down the street. It will be there in 13 minutes.
Yeah.
We can't track ballots.
Exactly.
We can't track ballots.
So, real quick, guys, I added these little things at the end. Instagram, we follow some awesome accounts on Instagram, and so Puppers Against Capitalism posted this. It says, I'm going to read this
Want me to read
first
it?
tweet. It says, futurism. Yeah, you read it.
You dumb motherfuckers really thought all this shit was to go to Mars.
SpaceX is promising the Pentagon 1 hour weapon delivery around the globe.
They've become the UPS priority of shipping weapons. Fam, we'll coup who we want to coup.
Isn't that crazy, though?
No money for jobs, no
That's-
money for healthcare, but we definitely have money to go into space for weapons. Yeah.
Well, Trump did do Space Force,
Yeah, he did.
which is
Surrounded by
sketchy as fuck.
neocons.
Fam,
It's
we got to
it's
prepare
not. They're an
ourselves when the Martians
oligarchy.
come
They're-
in.
They're an oligarchy. It's gonna be like that movie with was it Channing Tatum where it's Earth whatever, or I forget what it's called, but it's like the rich people live on another planet and all the poor people everybody else lives on Earth, and Earth is like dying. That's the whole mission of the oligarchs. I mean, really, it is. Like, they don't care. They'll be fine. You, on the other hand, are gonna get screwed.
I like this one right here.
This is just a funny one. Anti-capitalist.
Aliens invade Earthlings. We have killed your leaders, destroyed your economy, and are here to take over your government. Humans. Oh, thank fucking God. Aliens. Wait, what?
I mean, yeah.
We would be like, thank God you're here.
Yeah.
What the hell took you so long?
I know, where have you been,
killed these motherfuckers for us? Great, we could start over again.
Yeah.
I mean, what fam, what is it going to take? I joke all around. I said the only way we're all going to come together and really just put aside
Independence Day?
Is that the aliens come and we have to join together and say, hey.
I'm joining the aliens, sorry.
I know, it's like, where do I sign up?
I'm not fighting to protect Nancy Pelosi. Are you kidding me?
Where do I sign up? What else you got, Johnny? This is great.
I haven't checked up on this one. It says, did you know that Black Panthers used to ride around and follow the police, and if they pulled someone over, they were watching armed to the teeth and citing legal statutes?
I believe it. It has some libertarians in that group.
They were very hands-on. They provided the whole education, the whole health
free
care.
Lunch, free lunch, free breakfast.
Freedom schools, yeah.
And just listening to Fred Hampton, what he talked about, it's like, it takes time before we even acclimate somebody to our program and to be a Black Panther, because they were on point. They understood citing legal laws and stuff and statutes. You know what I'm saying? When somebody gets arrested, bring them back, please, man. We need Fred Hampton to come back. Where's Fred Hampton Jr.? Get over here, buddy. Let's get this started. Kanye West reacts to surpassing Trump and Biden in Kentucky. Did he really pass?
Reportedly,
I don't believe
he surpassed Democrat and Republican Joe Biden and Trump
I don't believe
in Kentucky.
I don't believe that. I don't buy that. What poll is this?
Lex ID? I don't know.
Can we play that? Is that volume there or no?
Let's go! Get the West Wing ready? Huh?
Get the West Wing ready. Hey, get the West Wing. 19%, 40,000 votes. Kentucky.
Get the West Wing ready. Let's go!
There's no way.
Get the West Wing ready.
Yeah. Oh God.
How would Kanye decorate the West Wing?
Oh God.
I think he said in a song he'd make it black. He'd make the White House black house.
Oh my God.
The White House was built by slaves. It's bullshit.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, the LA Progressive Community Voter Guide. We can look at it. Let's look at it. Let's see what they got. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So the future left, who is has a lot of support from Matthew Donovan, right?
Yep.
I didn't like the endorsements of the candidates, except a few. But
they had some good ones. Yeah. They missed some, and they had some good ones.
So they got a voting guide if you're in LA. So go check them out, I guess. Field to Burn Democratic Club LA also.
Yeah. They also have one.
Yeah. Also have one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I love Matthew Donovan when it comes to the
propositions.
The propositions he's head on. Even still, we were talking about some of our grievances with some of the candidate and stuff like that. There's a group of people there, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's not just him making that decision.
Yeah, of course.
But when it comes to the propositions, this guy gets a lot of insight. We run into Matthew Donovan out and about when it comes to our elections. In fact, he was there filming us when I was going batshit crazy over what happened. See, he still got Fatima on there.
Yeah. They got
he's still got some good people on there and whatnot, but that is the whole question now, fam. I think a lot of people have to get rid of that mentality. For me, it's not progressive to endorse an establishment Democrat, just because they're running against a Republican.
Right.
I don't think it's good to vote for Maxine Waters. Now, I'm not telling you to go for Joe Collins, because Joe Collins could have been on this show and whatnot and could have earned my vote. He chose not to. But you don't have to vote for either one of them, right? You can just leave it blank. Why give a vote to an establishment Democrat who's not going to do anything for you, especially one like Maxine Waters, whose policies were really bad, who Russiagated was awful. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Judy Chu, another one. Cisneros in Orange County, another one. Just none of the above. You don't have to go vote for the Republican or the Democrat. You have other choices on your ballot. Now, in California, jungle primary, only 2 people. If you don't like either one of them, leave it blank.
Yeah.
Don't give them your vote unless they're giving you something. And the establishment and the Democrats are giving you nothing.
Less than nothing.
Nothing.
And I just saw all these ads up when I was looking on Instagram. So Best Buy's promoting some Black Friday deals or something, and then you have Amazon Prime Day. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, capitalism as usual.
Well, it's like Best Buy saying Black Friday deals. Like now, for Wednesday, but Black Friday is like in a whole nother month. It's like a whole nother
After
month.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
So we were talking about the economy earlier. So what if like they're also anticipating a fucking economic crash and they're trying to get as much money now, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too, as well. There are some people out there who've gotten a little extra money that they normally wouldn't have gotten, so they're trying to get to those people to spend that while it's burning a hole in their pockets. So, I mean, you know, it's capitalism, consumerism. It works. And, you know, I have to put myself in check a lot of times when I'm out there and like, yo, don't let that capitalism bug get you. Don't buy something just to buy something because you have a few bucks, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But that is all part of the game. Shiny lights, Sprite things, good ads, Black Friday prices guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? That's how they get you. Consumerism, it gets you.
I will predict that there will be a suffering in that because of the work also the Amazon workers are doing against Amazon, and also because people don't have that much money. Yes, some people have some money, but a lot of people are also saving that money because they don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. So
that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. That was a pretty good show. We got 91 minutes in. We thank you for joining us today. Crazy stuff from Nancy Pelosi was the highlight of the show. We talked a little bit about Azerbaijan and Armenia. We'll be back in a couple days on Friday for sure. You might see something come out. Fam, did you drop your video yet?
Yeah.
Fam dropped a video. What was it about? Tell us about it. I got to watch it because you did a lot of work on this, and you had a deep dive. So tell the lovely people out there what your video is about.
So my video was about two journalists that were sent a threatening email, two different emails from the BBC BBC reporter named Chloe Hajimateo. And these journalists were Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett, and they were two of the journalists that covered this story on the Syrian chemical attacks from its infancy. Eva Bartlett actually, they both actually interviewed direct witnesses from civilians, etc. They also, Vanessa Beeley attended the OPCW panel on discussion that they had and exposed a lot of this. So they're being targeted by this BBC reporter. The BBC reporter basically accused her of, accused both of them of being funded by, you know, RT and Sputnik, but then specifically accused Vanessa Beeley of abdicating and spreading conspiracy theories in a very legal way, saying, oh, we've spoken to a lawyer and, you know, this is potential for a violation of international laws, etc., citing many of the things that were pegged onto Julian Assange, which leads you to believe that they are attacking independent journalists. They also questioned if she's a real journalist because she doesn't have the pedigree of a journalist, essentially, is what they said. And so this is an attack on press freedoms. This is also, I think, a result of being emboldened by the Julian Assange case, because the mainstream media, as you know, hasn't covered Julian Assange's extradition trial at all. The vast majority of the media here hasn't. And of course, these are two journalists who were exposing the US and UK involvement in another coup attempt, with working with jihadist terrorists, working with also to having their hands dirty from people dying based on these interactions with these fundamentalist groups that were out there. Yeah. So it's really important to pay attention to those things, because that's also foreign policy. It's also press freedom. So if those of us who are talking about real things and are doing real journalism and are exposing the security state and the military industrial complex are going to be prosecuted and called a Russian asset or an Assad apologist, etc., if they start doing that to Julian Assange, the whole point is they can do it to everybody else. And that's why paying attention to this and highlighting it and talking about it when journalists are targeted is so important, because they're going to go from journalists to people. And we've seen it here on the streets of LA. Yeah.
And it's funny because these particular chemical attacks, if you go back to the original chemical attack years ago, that was been debunked. You know what I'm saying? We saw that money was Turkey was involved in that in the Turkish parliament. And it was made to look like Assad was the one doing so. So therefore they can manufacture consent to go over there and overthrow his government. Why? Because Israel didn't want Assad there. Erdogan didn't want Assad there. We didn't like the fact that Russia had an influence there, so geopolitically. So we've been doing this over and over again, so that when you even went down this rabbit hole, even more fuckery, it's almost like every single chemical attack that has been blamed on Assad has been debunked now, and I think
Right.
there's been like a total of 3 or 4 of them and whatnot.
And they call that a conspiracy theory. The fact that it's been debunked,
Yeah.
even though it's true, that it didn't happen. People who were there, doctors, witnesses, people who were injured, experts, all these people weighed into this 2 years ago in 2018 when all of this was happening. And we've talked about the Syrian chemical attacks, but I mean, these are 2 journalists that were on the ground covering it, and now, when everything's been exposed, suddenly the BBC is doing a documentary of the white helmets to counteract their exposure of the white helmets, because the white helmets were basically a propaganda group that was supposed to protect the people in Syria, but instead actually worked in tandem with these
funded by the West.
Funded by the West, exactly. And so all of these lies and stuff, to me, the biggest point of this is that they will paint you as a traitor. They will paint you as a conspiracy theorist. They will paint you as, and it's funny because all these things that the BBC calls these women, I have been called a lot of the times by neoliberals, by the mainstream media, by the corporatists, she's spreading conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theory is Russiagate. That's a conspiracy theory, but it is a conspiracy theory promoted by the state-sanctioned propaganda machine, so it's okay to pretend that it's fact. And as always, they always state these things as fact, like Russiagate was a fact, that Assad chemically hurt all his people, that he gassed all his people, that he is this brutal dictator. And when somebody even goes as far as mentioning that Assad didn't do that, oh, you're an Assadist, oh, you're this and that. That's what they do, guys. They're gonna discredit everybody that's speaking about this. So it's important to highlight it.
Yeah, and also the Echo Park film that Johnny just put out there that you guys went out and did. That we showed that during the show today. Please go and check that out. That's happening right around the corner.
Yeah.
When you talk about an idea, you know what I'm saying, about what they are doing there and how the community they're building. I think it's beautiful. I got to go down there and check it out myself, and I'm glad you guys captured it, and you guys captured that moment about what it feels like to be homeless and whatnot and stuff. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. We have so many people homeless in the richest country in the world.
People who weren't homeless.
Yeah.
People explained, like, we weren't homeless before, blah, blah, blah. This is COVID, no jobs, etc. Like, this isn't just people who have been homeless forever. This is like a lot of people who became homeless because of circumstances. Yeah.
And I said this before too as well, and I've got chastised that, had Bernie Sanders in 2016 come out of this situation and say, you know what, hell with you, Pelosi, hell with you, Chuck Schumer, I'm going to go work with Donald Trump. I'm the leader of the progressive movement, and I'm going to get legislation done. We'd be far better off than him joining the Democratic Party and saying that Donald Trump is the most racist, sexist president out there. I mean, Ice Cube recently has come out and said that he's willing to work with the Trump administration to help develop the Platinum Plan for Black Americans. Ice Cube has come out and said that, at least in saying, putting everything aside, that he's willing to sit down and see what it's like, work about the contract for Black America and a blueprint to achieve some racial economic justice. And if that means you have to go work with people that you don't like, then you go work with people you don't like to get something done for your people out there. And the fact that Ice Cube is seeing it, you know what I'm saying? Ice Cube's getting a lot of points for me lately, man. I'm telling you. Ice Cube is seeing it. They're talking about it. There are people who have to. That's what politics is all about. It's not about mitigating damage. You have to mitigate damage when you're not willing to go across the aisle and work with people who disagree with you and come up with some sort of compensation and some type of agreement where both parties get something. Something that Nancy Pelosi is incapable of doing, but Ice Cube is willing to do it.
Well, that's it, fams.
I'm going to be on the Frank show tonight. I'll put the link on my Twitter today and stuff like that at 5 o'clock Pacific time. I'm going to be talking about ballot harvesting and whatnot, so I'll give you the link to that. You got anything else? Oh, Fam was also on Uphill Media today.
Oh, yeah.
Check out that, too, as well. Oh, and you have, she's a superstar, this one. Is it the New Left, the Far Left? What is it called, that show you were on?
The New Left.
The New Left.
Yeah, I'll share the link, too.
Fam will share the link. She was on that show, too, as well. That show was gone and had a hiatus for a year, and now it's back. It's a really good show.
Yeah.
I like that guy, Tom Barry.
Yeah,
He's got
Tom
a lot of
Barry's
great things
really
to say.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he'll invite me on the show. We'll see. We'll check it out. Maybe. I don't know,
did.
Fam.
He did invite you.
All right. I'll go on that show, too, as well. But I got to check out your show. Anything else, Johnny? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's 100 minutes today. We want to thank you for joining up. Thank you to all our Patreons out there. Go over to Rokfin, Rokfin. Endorse us for $9.99 a month if you can. You get advertisement-free content across the board. Everybody's premium content if you sign up for just the Convo Couch. So for Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue spinning on those ones and twos.
Convo out. Free Assange.
Johnny, where's the piece?